So the first step that we want to do today is introduce y'all to what p5.js is, and it is a web editor that uses JavaScript, so you can make these things called sketches. So if you go open up your browser and go to p5js.org, it'll take you to this screen, and it's just a overview of what P5 is. So it's a JavaScript library for creative coding, and that's what we'll be learning for the majority of this class, because in order to make interactive design or interactive artwork or interactive websites, you need to know the basics of code. And so you get a unique experience with me just because I'm an artist who learned how to code for art making purposes. I've learned from two other artists who do the same thing, and I've taught myself through watching videos online and looking at code online and trying to deconstruct what other people have done and write my own. Cool, so I'm gonna try to make this as simple and to the point as I possibly can, even though it's very difficult for me to do. You need to have 3 tabs pulled up. The first one and most important is the editor. So this is where we're going to be doing all of our work. And it's also, I can see what you've done because it's like open and online. So we'll be like, I'll be previewing your code here. And also you'll make videos and screen recordings of what you do. So first things first, you need to sign it up. So create a username, put in your email, create a password, and sign up. I just have to log in over here. So I got my email, my password, and here we go. After you've done that, you will see these tabs up to the upper left, and you've got File, and you can create a new sketch. You can save your sketch. You can open the sketches that you've done previously. So I'll open mine. This is all the work that I've done in P5. I started in another application called Processing that uses Java, but I'll talk more about that later. So yeah, this is like our portfolio of sketches. Kind of cool to think about code in an artistic way like that, using the metaphor of the sketchbook. So here you've got your sketches, you've got your collections. So Looking Down in the Desert was a project that I did, and I didn't want to overwrite some of the progress sketches. So I created a collection, and I have all of the various sketches from that one project here. So let's go back one. Assets, this is basically like whenever we get to importing outside sources or outside resources like images, I guess it all lands here. Cool. So back to the editor. You also have examples. So this could be really, really helpful for you to learn on your own. I highly suggest going through, looking at what they have here, seeing if anything interests you, like sound, live input, and just like once we get further down the road and we know the basics, it'll be easier to read this stuff, and you can like copy and paste it into your sketches that you build. And that's all just a part of the creation process for me anyway. Yeah, examples, cool. All right, next tab, we have the edit tab. So this is tidy code. So if we'll get here, but if your code looks fucked up, it'll like tidy it for you. Find, like you could find all the things that say have back in it, and it'll highlight it. And this is useful for when you start writing a lot of lines of code and you kind of get lost in the creative process. And then replace, I don't really, oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, so like instead of background, you can replace all of that with, I don't know, let's do create canvas. Oh, that's cool. So that's useful for like, I don't really use this very much, but as you go, maybe you want to like replace all of one word with a different one. That's cool. Keyboard shortcuts, handy to know. Reference. Okay, so this is the other tab that you should always have pulled up as you're working. You're going to constantly go back to the p5.js reference library and look for, this is just like all of like the functions that are created for you using p5. And whenever you like go and click on environment color, so if you want to work with color, oh no, see, it's environment and then this is color. Yeah, so if you want to know what alpha is, you click on alpha and it gives you an example of the code here that you could copy and paste and see what it does. And then it gives you a description. It extracts the alpha value from a color or a pixel array. And just gives you like the parameters and the returns. So what is alpha? Alpha extracts the alpha value from a color or pixel array. These descriptions are just confusing as hell. Alpha is the transparency. So yeah, we're gonna constantly be going back to the reference to figure out what things are. The third tab that you should probably have pulled up is the color picker. And this is going to be super duper handy because instead of figuring out the colors like using numbers, we can go figure out what color we want, like a purple. And then down here, we've got the RGB. So we can like copy paste these numbers in the future. We'll get there. Just have these 3 tabs pulled up for now. That's all you need to know. Okie dokie. So now that you're signed in, you've got your 3 tabs pulled up. We're gonna start a new sketch. So over here, it gives you just a pre-made title, Mixed Territory. They're always kind of funny and quirky. We'll just start off with something simple like interactive design demo 1. In design demo 1. That seems fine. Cool. So looking down here where you're going to be coding and doing all the fun stuff, it's got 2 functions already there for you. And the first is function setup and the second is function draw. And I like to think of these as, since my background is painting, I like to think of it as like the painter's palette and the surface in which we're painting on. So create canvas is the canvas size and the preview will be over here. So it's 400 in width and 400 in height. Let's see what that looks like by pressing this play button right here. Oh, and we don't see anything because we haven't set a background. So next thing you need to do is, I don't know why it's got this. Oh, I changed create canvas to, aha. we have to change this back to background. And let's just put 0. And you need to put a semicolon behind all of the lines of code. This isn't necessary in P5, but for other like applications and other like ways that you will end up coding in the future, should you continue, which you totally should, everybody should know how to code, you're gonna get used to putting that semicolon behind the line. Okay, cool. So here we've got how big it is. So it's 400 width, 400 pixels width, 400 pixels height. And so as you go from like the left to the right, it increases. So you can see, imagine this is like a grid. And this, the upper left is going to be 0, 0. And as you go down, you're staying with 0 width, but you're increasing it in height. So say I want to put something right here, I would have to place it at 0, 200, right? And then over here, you're going to be, if you come this way, you've increased to 200 width. So if you want to place something there, you want to place it at 200, 0. And then the background, the drawing of it, like what we're, another thing too, the background doesn't have to be in the draw at this point, because the draw is also for things that are like animation, but yeah, we'll touch more on that later. But for now, we've put 0 into the parameters of background, which has made it black. Now, if you go to references, we'll search background, and it will kind of tell us what it is. So the description, the background functions, that's the color used. Oopsie, go back or forward. Yeah. So the background function sets the color used for background of the canvas. The default background is transparent. So the reason why we didn't see it before is because, well, I guess it wasn't there, was it? But the canvas was still being drawn. So this function is typically used blah, 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 blah. Okay, you can read over this on your own. The range of color is from 0 to 255, and it is defaulting at using the values RGB, red, green, blue. So if you put 2 front slashes here, you can create a comment, and that means that this is just for you to read, and for your reference, and for me to read, or like other people that read your code, for them to know. You know, you can put, you know, a title of following object or whatever you make, or you can, just for your reference, put what things are over here. So I sometimes like to do like the values, or that are the parameters. So like background goes from 0 to 255. So like if you put 256, I think it's just gonna go to black or white. If you put 257, it'll just go to white again, white. 258, white. So it's not like reading any of that. It's all gonna be the same after 255. So 255 is white, but 240 is gray. And then it goes down to 0, which is black. So that's like the grayscale. So RGB. You could just play with you know, the grayscale by putting 1 number, or what you normally would do is you put 3 parameters here, and the first one being red, second being green, and the third being blue. And so if you know anything about color and you want to make purple, you would combine red and blue, and we wouldn't really have any green. So we'll keep the middle, the green number at 0, and we'll do red at, I don't know, 200 and blue at 200, and see what that looks like. Whoa, that's super purple. Okay. Yikes. I want like a little bit more blue though. So you can like tweak the numbers and stuff. Or you can go over to your color picker, this is where it's super handy, and just choose a color that you like, fit like here, and you know, you don't have to go through tweaking the numbers so much. And just take that, copy, paste, it's a lifesaver. And then I'm gonna save, Control S for me. I'm on a Mac, or not a Mac, Windows. Cool. So that's the color that I've chosen. And one more thing that I want to tell you for the background function is that, oh yeah, and the functions are going to be like kind of like bolded out like this. This is a function of the p5 library, right? And this is a function that we are kind of creating. Touch more on that later. So one more thing with the background before we move on from that is you can put in a fourth parameter, which is the alpha, or the transparency or the opacity of the background. So I believe that alpha is like 0 to 100, but we should test that out. So if it's a 0, we shouldn't see anything. There we are. And if it's 100, full opacity, there we go. So if it's 50, you can't see much of a difference. But if I drew something underneath the background, like, just to give you an example, you don't have to do this, circle at 50, 50, and 50. Yeah, so this circle I'm drawing underneath the layer of the background. So even though if I draw it, so the draw function reads from like top to bottom. So like as you draw things, like they get like pasted on top. Like imagine like putting a sticker on a wall, and then you put another sticker on a wall, and another sticker on a wall. That's kind of like what you're doing if you know, start with background and then you put circle, right? And then you put another circle, but you move it over a little bit. Guess what's going to be on top? Is it going to be your first circle or your second circle? It's going to be your second circle. So say we want to put both of these behind the background. It's tinted blue because our background has the alpha of 50, and so we can see that. So yeah, pretty cool. Okie dokie. So we got rid of the ellipses. We're just on background still. We looked at the way that the coordinate system works. So the top left being the 0, 0, increasing the x and y values as you know, go right and down. So we looked at a little bit of the function setup. This is a p5 function that runs only one time, and this one continues to run. So this is why this is where you do animations in the draw function, and in the setup function, if you only want it to run once, that's where that goes. So this in the function setup is a great place to define variables and to do any preparatory stuff for the future of your sketch. And the draw loop, or the draw function, is it runs in a loop that happens all the time unless you put something like no loop at the end of it, and it'll just keep going. So let's describe what I did a second ago, which was drawing a circle. So we're going to go through some shapes that we can draw so that we can work on our the first project that I'm going to give y'all towards the end of the class. So, you know, the most basic shape ever, a circle. So we've got a circle and its parameters. What are its parameters? We can go here and do the reference. Oh, I thought it would go. Okay, whatever. Reference circle. So down here, it's got circle x, y, d. So x being the x coordinate, y being the y coordinate, and d being the diameter. So you only need one diameter because the circle is equal both ways, right? So here, let's put it like in the middle of the canvas. So since our canvas is 400 by 400 pixels, we're gonna put it at 200, 200, 200. And make it, I kind of want to, just 100, I guess. There we are. There's our circle. So another thing that we can create here is an ellipse. So if you want a little bit of more freedom, like stretching out a circle, you could switch over to an ellipse. And it's got more parameters. So you can always go back into the references, but since I have this memorized at the moment, you've got the x, y, you've got the width and the height. So just to, you know, help you remember for the future, you could comment these out to the side, which is what I like to do. So if I want it to be above the circle, I'll just do, let's see, but I want it to be like right above. So like the x will be 200 and the y will be 50, and it'll be 100 by 200. There we are. I'm going to change the y value a little bit to 100 and then make it a little bit smaller, 50 by 150. Cool. Yeah, so there's our ellipse. We can do a square. So right here, I'm just showing you a bunch of like really easy shapes that you can use. So I'll comment shapes here, just so we know what we're doing. So the parameters of the square are the x, y, and the size. So it's very similar to the circle. So if I want to below the circle, I'll do, we'll have to go over 200 and then do like, let's see, 200, because it's going to be further down on the y axis. And then we'll make it as big, we'll make it 100 for the size. So that's x, y, s. S for size. Oh yeah, okay. This is fun. So the reason why it's not like centered like the other two shapes are is because the square or rectangles that you draw, they are going to be drawn at the upper left corner. So the way to fix this is you could do in the setup or like just above the square. You could do like rect mode center. And when you do that, it centers the rectangles or the squares. And so since it's in the setup, like just know this for the future, like you may not want your another rectangle that you build to be centered like that. So you could move this to being like above your square. And it's like gonna do the same thing. Another shape that we can add is the rectangle. So you do rect. And here, similar to the ellipse, you've got the x, y, and then you've got like the width and the height. So we can put this, let's do like to the left of the circle. So 100, 200, I don't know, 50, 70, doesn't really matter. There we are, pretty cool. And then like say I want to move this and create another one that's exactly the same, like right here. So we could just copy, control, so we highlight the line, copy it, obviously, and paste it below. And if we play, it's just going to be covered over the top. So we have to move it along the x-axis. So we've got the x right here. We'll move it to 300. There we are. Little abstract piece of art. Next shape that I want to draw is the triangle, and the triangle is a little bit more difficult. So let's go to the reference and like look a bit at the triangle. Yeah, it's describing what a triangle is, I guess. But more importantly, we want to know like the syntax here and like what the parameters mean. So like it's got a lot of parameters, a lot more than the others do. So the x1, the first thing, is the number. It's the x coordinate of the first point, then it's the y coordinate of the first point, then it's the x coordinate of the second point, the y coordinate of the second point, and so on, right? For the third point. So if we want to draw the first point of the triangle at, we could do it at 0, 0, 0, 0. And then we could do the second point at maybe 30, 0. So we do 30, 0. And then we'll do the third point at 0, 30. Cool. It's kind of tiny, but it works and you get the point. So we've got like a little triangle over here, and we could, you know, move it by changing the points, and you can play around with that a little bit. So x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3. Those are the parameters. Next, we'll do a line. So line is just the 2 points, I believe. So yeah, you could do, you can work with Z. What is Z? Z coordinate. So yeah, so you've got 2 points for a line. Pretty basic. If we want to draw a line like right through the middle, we'll do 0, 2, 400, 200. Yeah, okay. So the first point is 0, 200. Second point is 400, 200. And it connects with a line. Cool. All right. Say we want the line to be a little bit thicker. We would change the stroke weight. So we're going to add a function above the line. And we have to add it above so it applies to the line, because if we put it below, the draw function is going to read it top to bottom and it's not going to catch it. So stroke weight, let's make it 5 and see what happens. Whoa, so it did apply to everything. Oh. So the stroke weight here has applied itself to all of our shapes, and that's how we want. So we have to go back up to our other shapes, and above them put stroke weight, whatever you want. I'm gonna do 1 because I want the rest to be thinner, and here we are. So that's how you work with stroke weight. What else can we do with these shapes? We can change their color. So let's go above the circle and use the fill function and make the circle red. So R would be 255, G 0, B 0. And what's it gonna do? Everything, it will change to red. So one by one, above each of the shapes that you've drawn, you can select what color you want it to be by using the fill function. And I like to space out the things that I'm working with. So like this is all the circle, and it's all applying to the circle. So I'm gonna add some space here and change the stroke. I want the ellipse to have the same stroke weight as the circle, so I won't change that, but I will change to the fill and do 0, 2, 4, 0, make it green. Right? So like everything below it is changing color. The square, wait, you know what? Let's just copy and paste this line and make it blue. And so on and so forth with the color shift. I believe you can change the color of the line by using the stroke function, just stroke, because you're not going to fill a line, right? So the stroke could be, let's select a unique color and make it maybe like mustard yellow. Here we are. I love that we're like running into like other problems as we go. That's like the whole like creative process of coding is like problem solving. So yeah, so it's changed the stroke for all the stroke that we have on our canvas. So I could do, say I don't want the shapes to have a stroke. Well, say I wanted to change individually each of the shape's strokes. I would just do the same thing with stroke that I did with fill and like go up here to above like the triangle and change it back to like black. Boom, right? Or I don't really want a stroke on any of my shapes, so above all of them, I'll put no stroke. Cool. So, but we still have stroke for the line because stroke is intercepting the no stroke. So now none of my shapes have a stroke. We've just got the line. Just a quick note about the way that you write code. So like if you have one word, it's not going to be caps. So like fill is not caps and capitalized. But if you have two words for like the function no stroke, the second word will be caps. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to like troubleshoot how to write very simple code. Cool. So that is, I believe, all the shapes that I have in mind, all the simple shapes. Now, just to give y'all some like material to work with on your next project, I really want to teach you how to draw your own shape. Okay, so how to draw our own unique shape. Let us sort of like highlight everything here, like all of these shapes that we're messing with, and just do control / and it'll comment out all of that. So when we play it, like it'll be gone, or it won't be gone, it's still there, but it'll just be hiding for a little while because we're not really using it. Or you can just delete it if you want, but I like to keep things normally. But you know what, in this case, fuck it. We're just gonna get rid of that. So let's draw our own shapes. First thing that I like to do when drawing my shape is to create a way for me to like select where on the canvas I like know what the points are instead of just using my head and like mathing it out. Just like click and like know the XY coordinates. So like down here at the bottom below the draw function, let's create a function called mouse pressed. So function mouse pressed. And you have to do the parentheses after mouse pressed. And then you do like an open bracket and it comes up with a close bracket and you just enter. So here's our empty function right now, mouse pressed. And you can go into the reference and check out what mouse pressed is here. This is going to be super handy for like creating interactive artworks. But just know that you can come here for like, you know, further description or examples. So in mouse pressed, I want the console down here. So this is where bugs are going to be like reported to you if you do something wrong. So for instance, if I didn't capitalize the P in that and I played it, it would come down here and the console will tell me it seems that you may have accidentally written mouse pressed instead of mouse pressed. Please correct it. So that's super handy to have for like troubleshooting purposes. So if you do console.log, which basically means like in the console, I want you to write and tell me where my mouse X is and mouse Y is. Okay, so what's that going to do? Over here in the preview, if we click anywhere, the console shoots out a number, and it's the X coordinate of 310 and the Y coordinate of 87. So if I try to get somewhere in the middle, it's 202 to 11. So that's just helpful for me personally. You don't have to use it, but you can. Just to have like a little bit of freedom. If you want something symmetrical, you need to like do the math. But if I want to make like a goofy shape or whatever, it'll be handy. So come back up here in the function draw, and we'll do begin shape. Ooh. Oh God, begin shape, and we won't put anything in that. We'll do end shape, and this is sort of like a little capsule. So inside the begin shape, or underneath it, should I say, we could put vertices. So we'll do vertex. So these we could do. I want my shape to start right there, and I clicked, and it's 7391. So 7391. Let's play. Nothing. So I want my shape to go here next. 198.22. 198. Oops. 198.22. There. So it's a vertex to a vertex. It drew a line for us. Now, if I want it to come over like there, 342.103. So we'll draw another vertex inside of our container. And that's 342.103. And it's starting to draw out a shape. So if we want to know more about how to like work with this, here, let's finish drawing our shape real quick. I want one more down here, 200, 230. So vertex 200, 230. And then we'll press play and say I want to close off that shape. I think I could do close shape. So let me just go back to the references and create shape, or maybe I have to do begin shape. Yeah, begin shape. So at the end, you can put close to close it off. So in the end shape function, you put the parameter all caps of close. And there we go. There's our shape that we made. So go ahead and play with that a little bit on your own. I'm not going to describe that much further, because if you come over to the reference, you can get a lot from this reference. Like you can make them all points if you put in the parameter of points, a begin shape. Or something that I found really helpful the other day is, where is it? It was, oh, I wanted to curve the edges, like instead of having like really like defined points, I wanted them to be rounded. So you might not find it here actually very easily. So I think I'll just give you a little quick tip. I think you just put curve vertex, like caps. So, oh, here, so we can go back to what we talked about earlier in the, up here in edit and replace. And so we want to replace vertex, like all the vertex, with curve vertex. Yeah, cool. Nice, that's so easy. Ah, teaching is so great because you just learn so much. Cool, so now that I've turned the vertex to curve vertex, pretty cool, you can create wild shapes. Awesome. So now you've got some really cool tools in your tool belt to begin working on your self-portraits. So for, in class, I will have told you this, but just like a brief, you'll probably end up learning more in class than you will through these videos, but this is just good to have like as a reference in case you missed class or like you wanted to, go over something again, or maybe I described something actually better in the video, who knows. But so for the first project, we're going to create self-portraits. So when you do that, yeah, we're using like really simple shapes, but I want you to get pretty detailed. I mean, we've got plenty of time to work on this, and so I want to be wowed by the end product. Like, I don't want you to make just a circle and like a half moon for a smile, right? In class, we'll go over some examples of other people that have done something similar. But yeah, get creative with it and get detailed, and also figure out like the unique qualities that you have in your face, and show them to us, like share them with us rather, because you're so unique as an individual, and it'll just be like really cool to see reflected through the art of creative code. So yeah, have fun, happy coding, and I'll see you next time. Okay, I want to give you just one more quick tip before you start making your self-portrait. I am going to do a demo and try to explain it, demo myself. So I'll start from scratch. I want my canvas to be bigger. I want my background to be light yellow. I'm not going to explain things that I've already talked about. Oh, maybe I'll make it a little bit smaller actually. That's perfect for me. Okay. Cool. So like, quick note also too, instead of create canvas, we could do, or instead of like, selecting 600, 500, we could do, what is it? Window width, window height. And this is kind of cool because if we make our window, see, it made it as big as the window width and as big as the window height. So now instead of like changing the X to make it bigger, we'll just press play again and look, it's bigger. So, but just to keep things simple, let's stick with, oopsie, F11. Let's just stick with what we've learned today. When you go, just a quick note, when you go to do your portrait, just to keep everything organized, you want to like make sure you have everything labeled with comments. So like, for instance, so I've made my canvas a certain size that I like, and I've selected the background color of a light yellow. And I still have my mouse pressed function down here just because I like to, have it in there. So say I make my face as a circle. I want y'all to try harder than this. This is just a demo. 200, yeah, what did I do wrong? Oh yeah. 200. Oh, okay. So I want my circle to be in the middle. Instead of like having to like calculate 300, 200, or like whatever it ends up being, just put width divided by 2 and height divided by 2. And then you have to worry about the diameter here, or the size. So boom, so easy. If you want to put anything in the center, width divided by 2, height divided by 2. So this is the full width is 600 and the full height is 500. So what these mean here, this means 300 and this means 250. As a fun thing just to note is if the width divided by 2 is 300, right? And you put behind that plus 100, where on the x-axis is it going to be placed? 400. So you can kind of tweak the width. Like if you're using width divided by height and divided by 2 and height divided by 2, you can tweak things around by doing like plus a certain number minus a certain number. I think you can even do times. I think if you do times multiplying something, yeah, just push it. So it would be 300 times 2, so it would place it at 600. So that's just something to note to give you a little bit more control. So back to business is we're creating our portrait. So I'll make your faces a little bit bigger. So if you want to put eyes, so let's just put like an ellipse of divided by 2 minus 50, and then height divided by 2, and 50, 40, I guess. You can tweak your numbers however. Really, honestly, like I just like to put whatever, and then I would go and I would like look at my eye and like start to like tweak things a little bit more, like make everything more refined. And you know, the end result is going to be dependent on how much effort you put in and how much you care and how much you want to make it really like look awesome. But so yeah, I've got my eye like right in the middle, and I can copy this line of code and paste another one underneath, and then I want it to be moving over on the x-axis. So I'll go to this, and if I want it to be like totally symmetrical, we're not talking about my face right now because my face is not symmetrical, but I'd put plus 50. Boom. So then you move on to like making the nose and everything after that. But I just wanted to give you this like really quick demo just to show you that like you're gonna need to put like comments above everything. So you can go back and like know what you're doing or where you're working. It's so much harder if you don't have the comments and you don't like space things out in the way that you need to. It's just so much harder to like find things. So like if I want to put the nose next, I like to capitalize it, but you know, you do you, as it were. Bloop, bloop, bloop. So yeah, then I'd go back, draw the nose and everything that has to do with the nose, and this is how we're going to organize our self-portrait. Cool. Can't wait to see your faces.